Yes, sir. So welcome to Vasily's Garden, folks. When's the time to feed your citrus trees, hey? When is it? Now. That's right, folks. February, end of February, must get a feed into your trees because they are, or they should be, flowering and fruiting if not already set their fruit on them. Now, this is a grapefruit, but this one won't have any because I had to cut this one right back. If you remember a few weeks ago or months ago, it got a hard prune back and now we've got all the new growth. So we're going to work on this one to shape first before we get any more fruit because we don't need the fruit on this yet. We want to get the shape established. But when it comes to feeding, you need to feed your citrus trees because some over here, which have got lots of fruit on them, tiny little fruit, are going to be hungry. Unlike your fruit trees, your deciduous fruit trees, we're talking apples, pears, peaches, nectarines, apricots, and so on, the ones that drop all their leaves, they don't need a feed now. If you feed them now at this time of year when they're going into a dormant period, which means they're going to go to sleep, all you're going to do is inhibit flowering for spring and create more growth. You may actually cause it to grow more now when it's meant to be going to sleep. So don't feed them. But if you've got some really bad soil in your garden and the tree has suffered through the whole growing season, a light covering of compost will suffice. That's all you need to do, and some mulch, but nothing too heavy. The way we feed citrus, well, I feed them every 3 months, every change of season, because these trees generally have fruit almost all year round. This one hasn't, obviously, because I'd cut it back, and let me show you where I cut it back. We cut back here, we cut back here. See that there? That was a cutback. There was another cutback in here, right there. And yeah, 2 or 3, because I only had only 2 or 3 branches on it, and now it's bushed up beautifully. In actual fact, I remember it now, it was growing to the one side, and now we've got it growing out on this side. Beautiful and luscious green leaves. Now, all citrus trees should be fed now because their fruit's starting to grow and they're going to start ripening throughout the autumn, winter period, some into early spring, summer. But because they've got fruit all year round and they're big feeders or eaters, you need to top dress them. Now, I've top dressed these with our planting mix, and I'll show you what the bag looks like. It's a clean skin bag. This is a product I use, well, we created. And we use it for everything. It's our planting mix. No label on it at the moment, folks, and we're right at the process of getting this labelled up properly and hopefully into all good garden centres so you don't have to worry about driving down to Vasily's Garden trying to pick it up because they ain't going to be there for much longer. Yeah, it's closing down. Keep that in mind. So you can pick it up from Lethbridge, our warehouse here. This is where we live and we process it. But as far as all other garden centres on the other parts of Victoria and interstate, in fact, eventually we'll have this on the road so you can go to a garden centre, hardware store near you and pick yourself up a bag of planting mix. Now, what's in here? It's got 8 ingredients. Wish me luck, because I keep getting this wrong. Compost, worm castings, black grit, superfood, rice hulls, charcoal, cocoa pith, cow manure, that's it, thank you. I need to be prompted there because I do forget it. So it's a blend of these 8 ingredients that gives us the wonderful nutrient release, lots of good bacteria, beneficial organisms, bacteria and fungi, and the plants, look at the results, look at the luscious green leaves on it. How healthy is that? Now that's got its planting mix on it, so it doesn't really need much more. If you are going to top dress it, and I'll tell you why sometimes you may need to, is because we did the lemon tree over there that's in the sunlight now, and it's showing a little bit of yellowing between the veins. So that needs a top dress with our Superfood Enhanced. And this has got the black grit in it, which is the magnesium, which will help green up that leaf on there. So a handful of that, let's just put some on there now while we're here because I'll forget to come back out here again. So a handful or 2 around here, like that, around the base, sprinkled, and then a nice deep watering is all this needs, and it will help green up these leaves because it's put on a lot of growth real quickly, folks. And this had at least about a dozen fruit on it, which we harvested. But then also we cut this one back only a few weeks ago. I reckon it would have been 4 to 6 weeks ago. Where was the last prune we did on it? It would have been, where is it? It's on the end. Yeah, we cut the end off here, that's for sure. Okay, because we had fruit hanging out all the way on the edge. There was a cut back here. Here it is. There was a cut there as well, too. And we also cut the end off this one here, which has given us a huge amount of new leafy growth from that end. So that end came off. I've just broken one of the branches because that's how soft they are. That doesn't matter, we've got plenty on. Now this will need to be thinned out again in the middle because we don't want this crossing over going on at the moment. But for now, we're just going to let it settle down and just do its thing and let it green up again. So Superfood Blackroot Enhanced for plants that have already got a planting mix and good quality soil on top. But for those that are struggling, like this one, it's not this one, it's this one over here. Look at that, yellowing. This is one of the trees that I haven't fed because it was doing really well, and literally overnight it's gone like this. Now the problem I have here is we tried to move the felt bag and we tore it. So this grow bag, oh look at this. Really? This is one thing that you've really got to pay attention to, folks. A struggling plant puts out a call signal for help, and the first thing that comes to attack are pests, and we've got scale all over this. Bugger me, bugger me. This wasn't here yesterday, literally just turned up today. I was out here yesterday saying I'm going to do a little segment on it. It's been attacked by the rabbits, but that's okay, it's still holding on, it's not going to die on me. I need to wrap this around, I've got to put tree guard, the list goes on. So this needs tree guard, tape and paste to stop the ants. I need to spray eco oil on this to clean it up and top dress it with the planting mix, and deal with this little rip in here, because what's happening is as I water it, the water runs out of here rather than soaking in. And look how hard the surface has gone. It's crusted over. See that crust? So I've got to break all that, get rid of all these ants. Look at this, look how crusty and dry it is and brittle. All right, so we break this surface up. This is what I talk about when they say, okay, we talk about not digging your garden bed over, all right? Don't dig it over. You can compost it on top if you like and things like that. Ants are all over me. But just a scratch on the surface will make a huge difference in water penetration. But we don't just stop there. So let's fix this now. We're here now, we can't walk away. So we've cracked the surface over. I'm putting about half a bag, I reckon, of planting mix. Oh, look at that crumble. That's not a cookie, that's just the compost breaking down and turning into humus. All right, top dressed it with our planting mix. We'll deal with the ants in a second. I've got my sprayer, my tree guard, but first what we need to do is water it on top and see how it soaks in straight away. Stop for a second, let it soak. That's beautiful, like a sponge. Do it again. Don't flood it at once, allow it to soak in beautifully like that. That's it. And this is how we're going to get the nutrients being released into the soil, to the root zone where it needs to be the most, and we hydrate it beautifully and the tree starts to green up. It'll take about 4 to 6 weeks for it to green up, folks. It's not going to happen overnight. All right, so that's stage one. Stage two is to spray the plant, but before I do that, I'm going to harvest all the mandarins. And we're going to spray it with our CGWS, folks. That's our Citrus Guard White Spray, or citrus gall wasp spray. That is what we use to protect it from citrus gall wasp, leaf miner, and I'm going to see if I can get this to work on scale as well. I reckon it's going to work a treat on scale, because what it does, it actually magnetizes itself. The particles of the powder, when it dries on the tree, will start to magnetize itself directly onto the insect and suffocate the insect. And it also has our liquid, sorry, not our liquid, our powder, seaweed nutrient powder in there as well. That's why it's a brownie colour. Normally it'd be completely white, but this is going to dry with an off-white colour, a brownish sort of colour, and that should give us some protection. Now, I did say earlier to use an oil spray, like an eco oil or a organic or safe oil. That's not a chemical or petroleum base. I reckon you can save yourself a few bucks there, because why spend so much money on vegetable oil that's got a stabiliser in it when you can make it simply with your own cheap vegetable oil from the kitchen pantry. All you need is about 5 to 10 mils of veggie oil, and add to it 2 drops, maybe 3 drops of dishwashing liquid. Use an earth-friendly, eco-safe dishwashing liquid, and that way you've got the oil mixing with the water and you can spray it on the tree. Otherwise, use our CGWS. This stuff here works on a couple of fronts. It stops heat stress on the tree. It's the first time I'm using it on scale, by the way, and I reckon it's going to work on that, but it does stop citrus gall wasp and leaf miner. So if it can stop an insect like the citrus gall wasp from penetrating, more than likely it's going to stop the ants as well. Now, this was covered in ants before, right? Let's have a close look and see if there are any ants still running up and down. Have a look at that, they're all hiding in there, trying to get away from the CGWS. Now there's a couple of dry spots here where they're trying to travel on, right? They're trying to come back in action. There's hundreds over here on the side there, but they've reduced dramatically on the stem here. So I'm going to finish off spraying this section that I missed, but we're also going to put one more extra measure in place to control them from coming back, and that is our tree guard. Now this is a paste you put around the base of the tree or the trunk itself. In the past I used masking tape, and my concern with the masking tape is if you leave it on there for too long, the sticky part gets so infused as an adhesive to the bark that there may be a case where you'll peel the bark off and ring bark the tree. So instead of that, let's just use some nice cheap buddy tape, grafting tape that is, folks. Just wrap it around like that a few times. And why I do that is so that we don't put the glue or the paste onto the trunk itself directly. There we are. Now you don't have to tie the end up because the paste is so sticky, it'll hold it all in place for you. You can use a ice cream stick. I'm just using one of these little packers. And you don't need a hell of a lot. And remember, when you do apply it, go in the same direction that you wrap the tape around on. I did go anti-clockwise, didn't I? So just one wrap around like that is all you need to do, folks. Now that creates a barrier between the tree and the pests down below, like the ants. They'll come up to the edge here, and if we hang around here long enough, we'll see ants stopping to the edge of the glue. Some of them may try and cross over, but they'll get stuck, never to move again. So what have we done here? We fed it with our planting mix, got all the wonderful nutrients that are going to release into the soil, into the roots. We've sprayed it with CGWS to protect it from the scale and stop the ants. And we've put a tree guard around the base of the tree there, using the paste and some grafting tape. And we've given it a good deep watering. And that's all you've got to do with your citrus trees, folks. So feed them now every 3 months, but now in particular because they're coming at the end of the cycle of this summer. So at the beginning of each season is a good time to feed them. And when it comes to pruning, we do a summer prune on our fruit trees, and you could do a light prune on your citrus if it's completely out of shape. You can remove a branch or two in the middle. Citrus trees, unlike your fruit trees, can be pruned almost throughout the entire year. Not a hard prune, because a hard prune will cause the tree to react by producing a lot more new growth, more foliage. It'll turn into a shrub, in fact, and you may lose the cycle of fruit as well for at least a year. So a light prune, a regular light prune, once every couple of months or 2 or 3 months is all you need to do, and that way your tree performs well, unless you need to reshape it like I did with the grapefruit and the lemon tree over there. So look after your citrus, and it's Sunday morning. Tune into 3AW if you're watching this just as it's been uploaded, folks. That's Gardening with Darren James, and James Wall is on there today. So I'm not there this weekend, but rather I'm at our garden centre in Coburg, which is closing down 1 week from today approximately. Everything's heavily discounted because we need to clear it all out. So if you want to pop down and grab yourself a bargain and say hello, I'll be there to help you with all your gardening needs. If you can't get to the store, remember we've got our website, vasilisgarden.com, and the coupon code word is FEB, F-E-B, for a bigger discount. And don't forget, we're going wholesale direct to the garden centres. So you'll be able to get your product at a garden centre hardware store near you very soon. Or you can pop down to Lethbridge here at our little farm and pick up your order as you need to. vasilisgarden.com for everything you need. From me, Vasili, Maresi.